Welcome to the Axecast. This is the Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 edition of the Axecast, and we're back again covering another exciting Grizzlies NBA season. I'm Caleb Cohn here with my co-hosts Eric Parmenter and Luke Enemark. Guys, it's a real blessing to be able to be looking forward to another Grizzlies season with you guys. We're just seasoned vets at this point. When you've been doing this as long as we have, it's just nice that the the luster of the NBA season is never lost, and we're always just looking ahead. And especially, it's an exciting time to be a Grizzlies fan. So, media day for the Grizzlies took place earlier this week. Got to see some friendly faces, some new faces. What was some of y'all's favorite moments and takeaways from media day?
Yeah, it was just good to see everyone back and then see the new faces. I think although we didn't get to see Ja, it was good to get the update that he'll be able to travel with the team and practice with everyone. So that was definitely encouraging news. See, the most exciting was probably the Derrick Rose interview. I thought that was really insightful. And he kind of gave a unique perspective on his career, how he's progressed to where he is, and how he's going to use that to try to help his team. And he kind of clearly stated that he's not coming in here just to reset jobs, what he said, but he wants to come here and win and contribute, but also use him and be a mentor to Ja. So I feel like that was my favorite part. On top of just seeing Luke Kennard, great interview as well, always. But yeah, I'd say the biggest takeaways for me were the kind of the obvious ones, the Ja storyline, and then the Derrick Rose. And I know we can get into some more specifics later with like Zaire or Marcus Smart, but those are the two things that stood out to me.
Yeah, I was happy to see Jock and travel with the team. I'm gonna admit that Derrick Rose and Jacob Gilyard were the only Grizz interviews I didn't watch from media day because I saw D Rose's was like 18 minutes, and I thought I'm just gonna go to bed. I don't want to spend 18 minutes watching, but I'm glad to hear it was insightful. I did see that I'm not gonna babysit Jock quote, so I liked that as well. One of my favorite things is Steven Adams news, because I think that was kind of a big question mark coming into this, and then hearing Kleiman and Jenkins say that he's good to go and they're going to start ramping him up is such a relief, because I think we all agreed that his absence in the playoffs was a huge reason why we lost, and he just could not get a rebound that series. So
Sure.
really showed that he was super important, and to see that he's on the way back after all that uncertainty is really reassuring. I thought Kennard's interview was funny because he mentioned the 3-point shooting, and they interviewed Desmond Bain, and he's like, well, Luke said it was back and forth, and then Bain's like, no, man, I was winning those. It's like, I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, like Eric said, we can get into more specifics later, but yeah, that was what's standing out to me.
Yeah, that was really cool to see that, like, back and forth with Bain and Kennard shooting things. Just like having two elite shooters on the same team and just seeing how they can compete and go against each other in practice. It's only going to make them better. So yeah, that was cool to see. I liked it wasn't like a Grizzlies like Grind City media interview, but it was like a Marcus Smart interview with some other media. But asking him about just like defensive player of the year. Obviously, like one of the storylines now is that the Grizzlies have the last two defensive player of the years on their roster, and Marcus Smart was kind of just talking about how offense wins games and defense wins championships, and how he's excited to kind of be Jaren's going to be like the anchor in the paint, and he's going to be that lockdown on the perimeter, and he's just looking forward to like being that tandem, that duo, as well as like talking about Ja, and can't wait to like for him to come back and everything. So Yeah, that was probably my biggest takeaway because Marcus Smart has been, at least during the offseason, the biggest name addition. I mean, the Memphis side of it would probably say Derrick Rose would be like the biggest storyline, but as far as like actual impact and player getting contributing on the court, I would say Marcus Smart would be the biggest needle mover there. So that was cool to see. Um, yeah. So we can get into some more of the specifics. You guys, so we do this every offseason, right? We hear reports about some player that's kind of shining a little bit brighter, some player that we didn't expect, right? What, 2 seasons ago it was Santi. I think last season it was Laravia. So like who are we thinking, or who are we predicting right now is going to be that take that next big step?
I think the player I want it to be is Zaire, just because I think a healthy Zaire who is playing to the level that we know he can play at, like, completely changes this team on a defensive side of things and offensively. Um, Now, there was a lot of hype around his interviews this week at media days where he showed a lot of confidence, which is something that he lacked in the past, where he seemed like he was down on himself and hard on himself and going through injuries and kind of in a negative state of mind. Whereas this week he said there's no one on the planet who worked harder than him this offseason, and that he showed a lot of confidence. And then Jaren made a comment in his interview saying that, yeah, Zaire's really been surprising people, that he's looked really great out there in some of the runs they've had this summer recently. So I feel like he's probably the one that would help us the most, and I really hope it's him. But that's kind of the easy answer, I feel like. Personally, I want it to be David Roddy. Showed a lot of great signs last year, but again, we kind of used him in the almost like 3-and-D role, sort of, where he wasn't given a lot of responsibility to do anything else other than just shoot threes. But I feel like he has a more physical element of his game that he could try to tap into and that this team could use. Because right now, I mean, we have a gaping hole in our roster at small forward. We're trying to fill it with guys. And I don't think he's going to start off being the guy there. It could be Zaire. It could be Jake Laravia. Technically, it could be Conchar. Who knows? Bernard in that starting role. So there's going to be an opportunity for Roddy either there or on the bench or coming off the bench. He's going to have a lot more opportunity this year, especially the first 25 games when there's an extra roster spot with Ja out. So I feel like he's going to be given ample opportunity to succeed. And I saw enough out of him last year to think that he's going to be the one to really make a big impact this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And I think I'm with you with the first part where you're hoping that it's Zaire, because I am hoping it's Zaire. And I think if he could take that step, it would be the most helpful to the team. And we saw Jaren hyping him up. We saw him very confident in his interview. But I've been wrong in the past because I didn't buy that Santi Aldama was going to have that big step breakout year, but he did. But still, I think like last year I was hoping Zaire would take a big step and got injured and didn't really go the way I was planning. So I'm still skeptical about him, but I am hopeful. And like I think we could get into this like separately in a minute. Like you're kind of talking about, like there's going to be an opening starting spot. And so Zaire definitely fits the bill for someone who could take that step into that role. Like there's also like guys like Roddy and Laravia. So there's going to be opportunities, especially in the first 25 games. And someone's going to have to step up and seize that. But I think my answer to the question, which is kind of counter what I was saying a second ago, because I don't think he could start, but I'm going to say Kenny Lofton Jr. I think that if he gets minutes, he could really – he's already shown, like, last game of last season or something, scored like over 40 points in his like first like extended NBA minutes. And I think that like everyone's saying is a defensive liability, but he brings so much to the table on offense. And I think if he can really, he's a really young guy too. I think he can make a huge difference maker if he just gets the opportunity. So that's what I'm going with.
I agree. And I loved his interviews at Media Day. He's so funny.
Yeah.
He's just like asking people to follow him on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, with Zaire, right? I think something that's important to keep in mind, and they mentioned it in Jaren's interview, that Jaren and Zaire both came into the league at the same age. I think 18, like 18 turning 19, somewhere like around there, like super, super young coming into the league. And I mean, it's crazy to think that now this is Jaren's 6th year. That's wild to think, but I mean, he's, it kind of wasn't until about year 3, 4 that he started to become really polished, right? I mean, it was kind of frustrating with Jaren for several years starting out, where he was just, kind of growing into his body, didn't really know how to use his body and his length and everything. And he just didn't really know how to contribute to an NBA team on the floor. And honestly, you can hope that Zaire can progress in the same way that Jaren did, because Jaren, I mean, now is obviously the reigning defense player of the year, shot one of the best shot blockers in the NBA, and the potential likewise is there with Zaire in a much needed facet for the Grizzlies. Like, for all the reasons that Zach Kleiman and the Grizzlies drafted Zaire, the Grizzlies still need that. Like a solid small forward. I mean, this has been tale as old as time as far as the Grizzlies franchise. I mean, like literally for the longest time, the Grizzlies have need elite perimeter scoring, and we still have not really gotten that for an extended period of time. And we still are hoping that Zaire can be that. Like to see the boost of confidence, but all the tools are there. He's like, I mean, again, there's the report saying that, he grew again. I mean, I feel like that gets said about somebody every single year, but would love if that would be true. And still putting on some size, like he was talking about, like Jaren was talking about. And so, yeah, I do hope it's Zaire, because I'm a huge, huge fan of Zaire, both his personality and just him as a basketball player, what he can provide. And then talking about David Roddy, I mean, I do think David Roddy is definitely the safest answer for which Grizzly can take the biggest step. But I am skeptical because of the summer league thing, right? We tried to give him the Bane and Zaire treatment of the past 2 summer leagues, where it's kind of just like, here, you run point and you've got the ball in your hand the whole time, see what you can do. And David Roddy was pretty underwhelming, to say the least. So I'm a little skeptical about that, but I agree, Eric. His physicality is something that can really be utilized. So I like the answer of David Roddy, and I hope LaRavia can contribute consistent minutes, because, like, remember at the beginning of his rookie year, it was kind of looking like LaRavia was going to be the more consistent rookie over Roddy, and then that kind of flipped as the season went on. So hoping that LaRavia can take a step up too. So, but what about anything else as far as maybe some of these older guys that are now being brought in? What do you guys think this means for the roster moving forward?
I really love both of the guys they're bringing in. I feel like Marcus Smart too. I just loved everything he said this week. He just seems like he is a winner. Like all he cares about is winning. And, someone reported, I forgot who it was today, that like during the first training camp, like he was already diving on the floor for balls, and Desmond Bane was giving him high praise after the first practice. Like I feel like he's just the perfect guy that we need to be a tone setter. And I know that Taylor Jenkins was saying in his press conference that, he needs to be better himself at setting the tone, and that he made the first practice like a tone setter and made everyone be held accountable. And Desmond Bane reiterated that after the first practice, saying that was the toughest first practice they've ever had, and that it was great that they needed it. I feel like Smart's a part of that. Like he's been a part of these deep playoff runs. He's been to the finals, and he kind of knows what it takes to get a team to buy in together and the extra effort that's needed and the attention to detail in practice. So I love everything about Marcus Smart, and I think that he's going to be a big help to our team on the court and off the court. And then, like I was saying earlier with Derrick Rose, like you couldn't ask for a better mentor for Ja. Like both of them came in the league very young, and they immediately quickly turned into stardom, had to deal with all the outside noise and people, watching on them and depending on them, and they both got their fair share of trouble. And so I feel like he's just a perfect locker room guy to just mentor and bring Ja under his wing. So I was really impressed with both of them. And I know it could be cliche to just assume that like Derrick Rose is gonna be that guy for Ja. I feel like but I like legitimately believe it. Like I don't know. I just feel like it's genuine from Derrick Rose, and I couldn't be happier to have someone like him in our locker room, because I feel like this is a very important season for us as a team to change the stigma and the culture around us that we're immature. I feel like just getting rid of Dylan Brooks does a lot of that itself. But I was encouraged to hear like Taylor Jenkins himself kind of acknowledge that he needs to kind of change, like stick to what he believes in, but change kind of like the environment around the team a little bit. I feel like bringing in 2 seasoned veterans like that was a really good start, and I feel like it can only help us more in the future. And last thing on that, Desmond Bane, like he's the perfect example of that. His maturity is off the charts. If you watch any of the interviews he said this week, like he seems to be like the new leader of this team. Like he just articulates things in such a way that like he knows that they need to be more strictly business. They need to pay more attention to detail and do the nitty gritty that, last year and years past, they kind of took for granted and tried to have a little bit more fun. But he seems as locked in as ever. So I'm really excited to see what this year brings.
Yeah, I'm also excited about the new veterans. I think definitely something that Grizz have been lacking since Taylor Jenkins and Kleiman have taken over. Like this is really the first time they've gone out and like made this a point of emphasis. So I think it's something that's important and definitely going to help. And I think like Derrick Rose definitely a great mentor. And then also everyone's talking like he's not just a mentor; he's going to play. So we do need a new backup point guard now that Tyus is gone, and I think Tyus will be missed. But Derrick Rose, I'm sure, can step into the role and play well. I heard Bane say in his post-practice interview that D Rose looked really nice. So that's exciting. And then, like you kind of mentioned, Derrick, I think like Dylan Brooks maybe addition by subtraction on an offense at least might open up some more high percentage shots to be taken, maybe more spacing. So I think that the roster this year probably looks better on paper as well, like especially if you consider any internal growth. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with all those. I mean, Smart comes from the Boston team where I mean they were pretty much in the Eastern Conference Finals every single year for past 4 or 5 years, and went to the finals and lost to the Warriors. I mean, no shame in losing to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors in the finals. And so Marcus Smart, great addition to this team. Love what you said. Like, literally had that phrase in my mind, Luke, about addition by subtraction with no Dylan. And no shade to Dylan, but maybe some shade. That I mean, it's.
He said he's circling the Memphis games on his calendar.
Cool, dude. Go 7 for 34. I'd love to see it in another uniform and not a Grizzlies uniform. So, yeah, honestly, man. Like, I know, like, obviously our locker room is never gonna like say anything bad about Dylan, because they liked him, but us as fans, we're glad to see that the front office has turned the page and got some more mature people in there, and just people that can contribute on the floor. And like you were saying, Luke, this is definitely the first time that the Kleiman regime has gone out and made it an emphasis of no more youth, right? I mean, Kleiman talked about that in his exit interview from last season, right? Talking about it, maybe it was a mistake to triple down on youth that past season, and seems like he really meant that, and went out and got Marcus Smart and D Rose, and so yeah, that's really cool to see. Really cool to see Derrick Rose back in Memphis. I mean, I think we were all a little bit too young growing up in Memphis to like really appreciate when he was on the Tigers, but had a legendary run with the Tigers wearing number 23. So good to see him back in Memphis. That's really cool for the city. But yeah, like what you said too, Eric, about Bane kind of being a more vocal leader. I definitely did get that vibe, especially like in his on-court media day interview. Just kind of talking about what's being expected of guys. Yeah, and just like how everybody's going to be fitting in, but really just for guys to be themselves. And so that, yeah, I agree with that. And I'm hoping for big things from Bane. I'm hoping, all-star level play from Bane this year. I think that's.
I think he's a lock to be an all-star.
I don't say that.
I don't know if you can say lock.
I think he's going to be unbelievable this year. Unbelievable
too, but
I think it's I don't think it's a tall task for Bane to be in that all-star level, because I mean, it it's kind of how he just got the unlucky break beginning of last season, right? He was balling out, looking like he may make an all-star team, and then broke his foot, right? So
he was averaging 26 points before he got injured.
Yeah, he was balling out. So, and was never really able to get that back to the certain level. Not like 26 points per game type. So, but yeah, it's just really cool. Plus, I mean, Kennard, another veteran type player that we got. I mean, that was obviously in the season last year, but yeah, I just like. I mean, it's definitely just emphasizing that Taylor Jenkins and Zach Kleiman recognize that now's the Grizzlies window. We were. It was a great story to like see us be ahead of schedule in years past. That 56 win season, that was kind of, I mean, a little bit unexpected. I mean, probably only the guys in the locker room were thinking that they were going to be that good, because I don't think even Zach Kleiman thought that the Grizzlies were going to be a 56 win team that year. But now the front office recognizes now is Ja Morant and De'Aaron Jackson and Desmond Bane's window. Now is a time for us to make that playoff push when the East is probably the stronger conference, which I know we'll get into here in a minute. And, yet another year of guys having experience underneath their belt, and they're just rising and progressing towards their prime years, which, I mean, crazy to think that they're still in front of their prime years are still ahead of them, as we've already gotten so many amazing memories of all these guys in Grizzlies uniforms. But yeah, it's still a very, very exciting time to be a Grizzlies fan. So, but honestly, just like looking forward to seeing how this team responds, right? And just last thing real quick, like, I mean, there's no way to dance around it. The Grizzlies got punched in the mouth
last season. Had a very sour end to the postseason last year, right? And pretty embarrassing. And it's just looking forward to see how this team responds, right? And by all accounts, through the media day, looks like this team recognizes they took that punch in the mouth, and they're looking forward to proving people wrong. So I'm hoping it backs up.
For sure. And I just believe in this team. Like, when healthy, like we haven't seen this team in the playoffs together at full strength, which has been so frustrating. But I believe in this team. Like, if we have our core, I'll take our core against pretty much anyone. Like, losing Steven Adams last year was brutal. Losing Brandon Clark was brutal. We lost Ja temporarily, brutal. Same thing 2 years ago with dealing with Ja getting hurt. Steven Adams got COVID. Like, Bane got hurt for like 2 games in the Warriors series. Like, we've got the injury bug in the playoffs. And so I just really hope that we can be healthy headed into the playoffs, because I really believe in this team, especially with some of the additions we've got, complementary pieces. I just want to see us at full strength.
100%.
Yeah.
Y'all have anything else y'all want to add before we move on to these predictions?
Only other thing I had was sneaky connection. Derrick Rose played with Luke Kennard in Detroit. So they might have some second unit mojo.
I did not know that.
Who knows?
I also forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we're looking to replace Tyus as that bench, leading that bench. Because, I mean, the numbers for the bench with and without Tyus were brutal. I mean, so we'll definitely be looking for somebody to take on that role. Yeah. So as we do every year, we're going to predict what the NBA East and West standings will look like. We'll move down to the 10 teams now that obviously this play-in thing has been going on for a couple of years now. So we go all the way down to 10. And cool. So whichever one of y'all wants to start.
I want to start so Eric can't copy my. So if Eric copies mine, we'll know he's copying.
My standings are written already, so.
Mine are too.
But do we want to give like an explanation of one, or do we just want to wait till after we list them off and like talk about any talking points you want to talk about?
I mean, maybe you can go. You can talk. I guess we could like talk about each team as we go, but then just like when you're done with the conference, just give a recap of it all.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and start. Put a lot more thought into the West than the East, so keep that in mind. But I bet I would be shocked if Eric copied this one. Like I think I maybe the first 3, but I don't think after that it starts getting
coming out with the Grizzlies on 1. Grizzlies at 1.
Now you got okay. So number 1, I'm putting Denver just to give respect to Jokic and the reigning champs, but I'm putting Memphis at 2 because Memphis is really good at finishing second in the West. They do that. They're pretty good at that. They do that like 2 years in a row now. Number 3, so this is actually kind of lame of me, but number 3 I put the Kings, which is actually a repeat of last year's final standings.
Yeah, you're just chalk right now.
But no, it's going to get different. Just hold on. But the Kings were a great team, especially in the regular season last year. I think they're going to like build off last season and put in a lot of effort into every game they play. But here's where I think I'm going to stand out. At 4, I put Oklahoma City. I think they're going to take a big leap this year. That's my sleeper team, NBA, whole league. Lots of young talent. Yeah. So number 5, I put Phoenix. I think that this team is on paper, it's got a lot of good star power, but I think that it's just kind of like, let's just grab every star player we can without thinking about how well they're going to fit together. and then they go and trade DeAndre Ayton, who was like their good interior defender, for Nurkic, who I'm sure is not going to be able to do it as well. So I did like that they got some more depth from that recent trade, but I don't think Phoenix is a well put together team. They're just like they have a high overall on like 2K or something like that. For number 6, I put the LA Lakers, and that was because these new resting rules are going to make the Lakers stars play a lot more than they're going to want to, and because of that, they might win some more games. Number 7, I put New Orleans. At this point, I think New Orleans is a great team, and they were I think either 2 years ago they were up there, like they had the number 1 seed in the West for a minute, like deeply into the season. So they're definitely a great team. They just got to get their health. 8, put LA Clippers. I also think their stars are going to be forced to play more than they want to. They're going to win some more games. And then 9, I have the Dallas. Even Eric just left us. 9, Dallas. I'm gonna keep going. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can't count out Luka. And then 10, I put Utah. I think Utah is pretty good. Are you laughing at me or Eric?
I'm laughing at you because
You guys cut out.
Because there's. Hey, Eric. So I know you got cut out there and you couldn't join. But stop me if you've heard this. Luke's rivalry with the Golden State Warriors continues as he does not put them in his top 10. They don't even make the play-in.
Oh, they're too old. No.
Well, I can't. You guys were just cutting out bad. Well, it was just.
Well, you actually look like I could see you moving now. Like before, it was just like pixels kind of going like.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out
Luke,
for us.
how did you finish your?
So what was the last thing you heard? I'll just read from like I'll just do 1 to 10 really quick. Yeah. So number 1, Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, OKC, Phoenix, LA Lakers, Pelicans, Clippers, Mavericks, Jazz. I'll do the East. Top 2 I think could be interchangeable. I put Boston and then Milwaukee. 3, I have the Cavs. Definitely great team. Just gotta like get some more experience. 4, I put the Heat. Heat made the finals last year, so don't forget about them. 5, I have the Sixers. Still have the reigning MVP. 6, I have the Knicks. I think Thibodeau coach teams are pretty tough to, I don't know, put lower than that. 7, I put Atlanta. Disappointing season from them last year. 8 and 9, I have the Nets, then the Raptors, who just don't know when it's time to rebuild. And then 10, I put the Pacers.
Did you not have Cleveland?
Cleveland was my 3rd.
Oh, okay. I missed the
Sorry. Yeah. Cleveland number 3 for me. I'll do it like again.
Yeah, run through.
So number 1, Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, Heat, Sixers, Knicks, Hawks, Nets, Raptors, Pacers. All right.
So we pretty much have completely different ones, Luke. So
okay, so it's a good thing I went first. Now you might. I don't know.
All right, am I cutting out again?
Yeah.
Dude, I keep cutting out. This is. Can you guys hear me now?
I mean, yeah, you're just like really
your
lagged.
voice is not synced up to your face.
Yeah, you're just like really lagging.
That one was right. I think.
Brutal.
All right, just try and do it.
Yeah, just try and see how
just go like quick so we can hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Western Conference. Nuggets, Suns, Grizz, Lakers, Kings, Jazz, Warriors, Clippers, Mavs, Thunder. So kind of at the top there. Nuggets, give them respect. Suns, I do agree that their roster construction isn't great, but I feel like they had a lot of depth problems, but they added in some complementary pieces. I feel like their bench is good enough that they'll be good. Grizz, I put us 3. I feel like we're going to have a pretty similar win total as last year, even with Ja being out. For the Lakers, they were good last year and they got better. And it seems like LeBron's got a little chip on his shoulder, which, may not mean anything, but I'll give them the respect at 4. 5, the Kings, really good story last year. I feel like they probably are due to regress a little bit from where they finished last year, but they're still a really good team. I love all their guys they have there, so I can't put them any lower than 5. 6, the Jazz. I'm very high on Utah. They were good last year, very solid for being such a young rebuilding team, and they added some guys this year in the draft that I really like. And so I think they're going to be a really exciting team, and I put them at 6. 7, the Warriors. Like, it's the Warriors. I can't not put them in my top 8 despite losing Poole and having a kind of a weird roster construction off the bench. And now Draymond, news of him being injured. It's going to be a little rocky for a little bit, but I got to put them in the top 8. 8, the Clippers, kind of same thing. Like, it's always the Kawhi. Is he going to be injured? Is he going to play? Paul George. They're just too good to leave out of the top 8. And then the last 2, I've got Mavs and Thunder. This was kind of tough because I do agree with Luke. I like the Thunder a lot, but there's just so many teams on the West that I see that could be better than them. So I put them 10 and 9. Like, Luka's Luka. I can't. They're going to be in the playoffs or the play-in at worst. So that's how I stacked the West. What, Luke?
They missed it last year.
They did, but they weren't together as a team the whole season. They were split up for half the year. So now to the Eastern Conference. Bucks, Celtics, Cavs, Knicks, 76ers, Heat, Pacers, Hawks, Raptors, Wizards. So here I feel like there's a clear top 2, Bucks and Celtics. I personally think it's going to be a Giannis revenge year. Season did not end the way he wanted to. I feel like he's just going to be out for blood the entire year, and it's going to be scary. So I gave them the nod over the Celtics, who I didn't even name Damian Lillard at all in there. So they're 1. 2, the Celtics, they're really good too. I do have some concerns with their depth and their front court, but I think they're going to be pretty solid. They're the clear top 2 teams. 3, I have the Cavs. I think they're always kind of a really good regular season team. They have a lot of good pieces. They added Max Strus, so I feel like they're going to mesh well, and they're a little more solidified than any of the other teams in the East. So I feel like they're just a step below the top 2 tiers, the first tier in the East. Then I have the Knicks. They're kind of in the same tier for me as the Cavs. They had a little fun in the playoffs. Jalen Brunson, really good. Julius Randle played more consistent. Josh Hart, they've got a lot of good guys, so I have them 4. 5's the 76ers. I think they're just a disaster waiting to happen, which for them, their floor is pretty high still. So I have them regressing down to 5. I could see them go maybe even a little further. It's just so toxic, the whole James Harden situation, him being so toxic. And when Embiid's like not the toxic guy, that's how things aren't doing great, because he's usually a drama queen himself most times. So I just don't like the vibes in over there in Philly. 6, I have Miami. I love Jimmy Butler, but losing Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, like there's just so many shoes to fill there. And I just don't feel like they have the established role players to be able to be as competitive as they were last year. So I'll have them at 6. 7, I have the Pacers. Really like Tyrese Halliburton. They still have Miles Turner. I feel like they're just always going to be a solid team. They're really fun to watch last year, and I feel like 7's probably about right. 8, I hate to do this, but the Hawks, as much as I hate Trae Young, I do feel like he played about as bad as he'll play last year. I do think he's a better player than that, and I feel like he might have not a breakout year because he's already like kind of established, but I feel like he's gonna have a bounce back year this year. But that still is eighth in the East, considering Raptors, Wizards. The Raptors are just a science experiment. Asai Ujiri just dangles his players in trade conversations and then never actually trades them and just thinks OG Anunoby is worth 1 million first-round picks and just refuses to trade him ever. So they still have a lot of good guys there. They lost Fred VanVleet, but they have a solid group of young guys. I think they'll be competitive and be the 9 seed. Then the Wizards, now they have Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, and they still have some of those younger guys, exciting guys. They got Gafford, yeah. So I think they're the 10 seed. So that's what I got. Any strong disagreements there or questions with any of that?
Nope.
I like the Pacers at 7 or wherever you had them. I thought that was good.
At least my Wi-Fi held up for that.
I think that I like the respect you gave them.
Yeah, your Wi-Fi held up strong there, Eric. Yeah, first time living in a different NBA city for me now. So yeah. I guess I gotta show the Pacers a little bit of love.
We definitely have to go to the Grizz Pacers game.
January 28th, dude. I already got it memorized. All right, I'm already gonna try to be there.
I'm going to the Wizards Grizz game.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, and it was one of the things when I came up here, like when I took the job, I was like, all right, October 8th, that's when the Titans come up here, play their game against the Colts. So this Sunday, I'm gonna be in Lucas Oil. So yeah.
Oh, this Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good luck. That's
awesome.
Titans have been rough this year.
Nah, man, we're gonna bounce back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me run through my list. I kind of got a shocking. I just want to be different, dude. You know, honestly, this is for clicks. This is my clickbait prediction here. So going with the West, number 1, going with the Kings. You know, they had an amazing season last year. And it came out of nowhere. The Mike Brown show was able to like actually pull that franchise and light the beam, and the amazing story that was build a great culture, actually put something together with De'Aaron Fox. And so I think they can continue that. And so I've ut the Kings climbing all the way to the 1 seed. I'm going to put the Nuggets here at number 2, reigning champs. They win in the regular season often, as they have with the Jokic and Murray duo. And obviously they win in the postseason. So, that's my 1, 2, 3. I've got the Grizz. I don't think there's any reason to think that we'll just fall off from the standings. Like Luke mentioned, back-to-back number 2 seeds. So, a 3 will probably be a little bit of a regression, but I think our win total, again, is probably within 4 games of the past 2 years. So, yeah, I got the Grizz there. Number 4, I'm going Golden State. It's Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Addition by subtraction with Jordan Poole gone. And let's see, Lester Quinones. I just got to shout him out because he went to Memphis. He's getting some spot minutes. So,
do they still have DiVincenzo? I don't know. Do they?
I don't know.
Maybe. Chris Paul. Chris Paul is like just gonna inject youth and energy into that roster. And surely this will be the time that Chris Paul can finally get his ring.
DiVincenzo's on the Knicks. Wow.
Oh, that's right, because it's the Villanova reunion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Brunson and DiVincenzo and Hartenstein, or not Hartenstein. Hart, and one other guy that I don't know. Cool. 5 got Phoenix. I mean, it's kind of just like you guys have already said, just let's just get all these superstars together and surely they'll be good enough. But I mean, as we saw last season, that didn't really work out because they just didn't have a bench. And so, like, if Devin Booker and Kevin Durant aren't putting up 50 points each, how are you guys going to score? So, obviously now they've got Bradley Beal, so I mean that can be even more. But yeah, I think Phoenix at 5 is a decent pick. I think this is kind of the floor for the Thunder because I've got them at 6. I don't think I think I'm pretty sheepish on putting the Thunder any higher just because that's so bold to put a young team that hasn't had too much regular season success in the past, but SGA, Giddey, I mean the Jalen, the Jalen Williams duo. So it's yeah, I think the Thunder can take a step up. I don't think that's far fetched. I've got the two LA teams at 7 and 8, so the Lakers and Clippers. Yeah, no need to reiterate. It's just are these Los Angeles Divas gonna actually play basketball or not? So it's always the question with those.
Wait, did you hear what Anthony Davis said last week? He said the goal is to play 82 games. He's gonna be lucky if he plays 30.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Too.
But speaking of teams who have, we'll just continue the trend of teams that are probably underachieving with their success because of not being able to keep players on the court, and that's the Pelicans. I've got Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and McCollum just kind of underperforming because just not able to. I mean, it's just sad to say, but I mean, it's kind of consistent at this point that Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson are just not really able to stay on the court, and let alone at the same time and put together some wins. We saw what that looked like last season. I think they were the first seed all the way into January, right? Then just fell off the face of the earth. So I think 9 is unfortunately where the Pelicans will end up at. And then 10, I have the Suns again. So I made a mistake. And I'm going to put Suns. I'm going to put the Mavericks. I think the whole Kyrie thing, similar to the Sixers, is kind of just like drama waiting to happen. Like, are we really just going to trust that Kyrie Irving can put together a non-drama filled season? And I just don't think that the rest of that Mavericks roster is good enough besides Luka and Kyrie to have some sustained success. So we'll put the Mavericks at 10. So just run through it real quick. I've got Sacramento, Denver, Memphis, Golden State, Phoenix, Oklahoma City, LA Lakers, LA Clippers, New Orleans, and then Dallas. So that's my West. So my East, pretty standard, right? You get the Bucks, or I got Celtics, Bucks, Cavs. I mean, that's pretty much been the staple for the East the past couple of years, right? Especially Boston and Milwaukee. They're at the top 2. Cavs are always been a good regular season team, like we've already said. 4 are going to go ahead and put the Heat. That may be high for them, but I mean, you've got Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and Eric Spoelstra, who continually is underrated. I don't know how he's not just considered a top 3 coach every single year. I feel like he should win Coach of the Year like every other year, but I digress. So I'll put the Heat 4. Knicks at 5. I mean, no reason to think that they can't achieve the same type of success that they did last year, right? I think they were 5. They're either 4 or 5 seed last year, and no reason to think that they can't replicate that. 6, I've got the Sixers. Like Eric said, I think that whole James Harden situation. Sure, he showed up to training camp. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Sorry. Okay, he showed up, so he dude, whatever. I've seen this movie so many times with James Harden. I don't even. It doesn't even deserve time on this highly touted podcast for me
Agreed.
to talk about James Harden. 7, I've got the Wizards because they've got our old buddy Tyus Jones running the show. Hopefully, I mean, I'll be rooting for Tyus. Hopefully, he can fulfill that starting point guard role and get some wins. As long as it's over in the Eastern Conference, it's over in the Eastern Conference, so we're not even. He can win some games, and so yeah.
Whatever
Wizards.
the opening night Tyus Jones assist line is, I'm taking it, hammering it.
Facts. So I've got the Wizards there at 7. 8, I've got the Indy Pacers. Yeah, they've got a core right, Halliburton. We actually didn't really see too much from him from Team USA, but yeah, he looked great last season. And dude, a team that I'm realizing I just did not put in there was the Timberwolves. Did anybody put the Timberwolves in?
I purposefully.
I had to leave him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The West is just stacked. I feel like the West is stacked this year.
I feel like
top to bottom.
The East is top heavy, but the West has a lot of good teams.
Yeah. Agreed.
I agree with that. I feel like the West can be easier to get through the playoffs. Maybe not the regular season rise in the ranks. I don't know. Because like, I don't know. If we're talking about just strictly going through the playoff bracket, I think I would rather be in the West just because of how daunting Milwaukee and Boston are going to be. So
playoff Jimmy.
I have a hot take about the Celtics. I could discuss later.
Okay.
Let me just finish the East real quick.
Yeah.
We got the Pacers. Show a little bit of love to Indy. And number 9, Raptors. Sure, why not? I don't know. It's the 9 seed. And then 10, Magic. Just because why not? So real quick, my East was Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Indy, Toronto, and Orlando. So that's my East. We'll see how well or not well this pans out.
Or what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say you got your Boston take.
Get ready. The Boston Celtics are not going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. You heard it here first.
Why?
I think on paper, yes, they got better. But I just think how important Robert Williams and Marcus Smart were to that team. Like, I don't know. I just feel like and what we saw in the playoffs with him last year where like it just got to a point where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were just throwing up bricks. Like they couldn't buy a bucket. And then like they were just relying on like guys like Derrick White to come in and try to like bring some energy. And like I just feel like losing those two guys is going to be huge. And we're just like assuming that Tingus Pingus is going to come in here and save the day and play as good as he played in Washington, where he had a much different role. Like, I just don't buy that. They are a great team. I think they're going to cruise through the whole regular season. But I have serious doubts about them in the playoffs.
I'll counter that if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not okay.
I think Drew Holiday is a very good fit, especially after trading Marcus Smart. I think Drew Holiday is like similar to Marcus Smart and better in like offense. Pretty much all aspects, except for maybe like he might retire sooner.
But he doesn't have the dog in him.
I can't argue with that, but I think when I heard that Drew Holiday was going to be traded, I was like, man, I wanted him. But like no disrespect to Smart, but I think he's going to be great for the Grizz. But Holiday, I think, would have been a major addition. And Boston got really lucky with that. And they also have Porzingis, and who, if healthy, could be great. They still have Derrick White. Like, this is a great team. And like if you think about it, Holiday, Brown, Tatum are 3 great players on defense as well as offense. So I think that I think they were my top team in my standings.
Real quick, assume I'm wrong. Assume they end up playing the Bucks. Who's guarding Giannis? Who do they have to be a rim protector?
No Grant Williams anymore.
Oh yeah, what happened? He's in Dallas now.
Dallas.
Yeah.
No Robert Williams. You're gonna. Who do they got?
Porzingis?
Tingus Pingus.
Oh.
You want him guarding the best basketball player in the world?
I think Tatum, how did they guard him when they played him last year?
They didn't.
They didn't, but they had more bodies to throw at him.
Yeah, I think that they could do it for sure. Holiday can handle Lillard.
I feel like
Tatum
the Bucks are good. The Bucks are nasty.
The Bucks?
The Bucks are nasty.
The Bucks are good. I think that's a really good pairing. Like the opposite of the Suns, where it's like I feel like the Suns' 3 good players are like they just do the same things. It's like if your house like needed like plumbing issues, electrical issues, and like your gutters fixed, it's like you hired 3 plumbers to solve all those problems. And they can only do one of them. They can't do all of them.
It's an amazing analogy.
That's a great analogy.
So I don't think that team's gonna work at all. But I think that Lillard and Giannis, those are 2 players that fit together pretty well.
I also just feel like people are forgetting how good Chris Middleton is when he's healthy. Like he was banged up last year coming off an injury and he wasn't himself.
Yeah.
He started to find himself a little bit towards the end, but he's really damn good when he's healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And losing Drew Holiday stinks, but you got one of the best scorers in the world next to the best player in the world.
And I think that was like looking back at the Rudy Gobert trade, like Lillard is light years better than Gobert, and they got him for significantly less. So I think that Milwaukee got better, and I think Boston also got better.
Do you guys have any Grizzlies specific predictions for the duration of our playoff run, or any just season predictions or whatever?
Really looking forward to seeing BC get back healthy. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't do enough research on the media day stuff, but is there any update on his timeline? Is it still like definitely not before Christmas?
Yeah, they didn't really say specifics. They just the coach
progress.
What, Luke?
I feel like they just always say like he's making good progress.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Taylor's oldest time. They're never really specific with injuries and timelines and stuff. So really looking forward to BC getting back because he's so often that spark off the bench that we really need. So, and hopefully he's just getting back in time for playoffs. So.
Yeah,
Luke?
the thing I'm most excited for is to see how Jenkins fills out the starting lineup, because we're kind of assuming Smart, Bane, Jaren, Steven Adams to start the season for the first 25. And to me, that this battle for the 5th spot is really that's what I've got my eye on. And I think it's no small thing to have that opportunity for those 25 games. And that opportunity could lead to, I think that injuries they're bad and they'll hurt you in the short term, but looking at it like glass half full, there's going to be an opportunity for someone who wouldn't have gotten minutes to get high intensity minutes and meaningful minutes when they otherwise wouldn't have. So it's I guess it's not an injury for Ja Morant, but he nonetheless he's not going to be able to play. So whoever's going to be able to step into fill, we know Bane would be playing, but maybe now he's going to have like a more heavier scoring burden. That could be helpful for him. Someone else like who wouldn't be starting is going to be starting. So I think like by the time these 25 are over, the team's going to be better because of it. From a certain point of view, to quote Ben Kenobi.
And like it just gives the opportunity for like the younger guys too to have more roles off the bench and get them more experience. Then down the road, if we do need them, they'll be ready. But for me, the biggest thing, I'm believing all of the Ja hype train. I feel like he is hit rock bottom. I feel like he can't go any lower. I feel like he's really taken the right steps, and he's been in the gym. He's been grinding, and I feel like he's going to come out game 26, and he's going to have the biggest chip on his shoulder that we've ever seen. He's always been a chip on his shoulder guy. He's always talked about that, but I feel like he's going to just turn it up to a different gear. And that's what I'm most excited to see is the return of Ja. And I feel like he's going to come out looking for blood.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to have a great year.
I certainly hope so. I mean, because when he came back from the suspension last season, we mentioned it on the pod. He just didn't really have that killer instinct, right? Kind of a shell of himself, and I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that he's been grinding. I mean, there's no doubt Ja's been in the lab. He's been grinding all offseason. He's definitely got a huge chip on his shoulder. I mean, if you don't think that, if you think Ja Morant is shying away and kind of like wallowing in self-pity right now, you don't know Ja Morant. You're uneducated, you're a casual, and just stop talking because you clearly don't know. He's definitely been grinding. He's going to get back, and yeah, I just hope it all comes together. I mean, we could be like looking back in a couple of years and seeing like this is the calm before the storm of Ja just erupting. He's already a superstar, but
it just seems like it. Like, call me biased. Like, I don't know. It just seems too perfect. Like, bringing in Marcus Smart, bringing in Derrick Rose. He's been like going through it, like all these videos of him in the lab, working, grinding, wearing these shirts that say like accountability, rebirth. Like, I'm just so excited to see him come back. And I truly feel like he's gonna do something special. And like I was alluding to earlier, like I just pray and hope that this team is healthy going to the playoffs, because if we can get Brandon Clark back, we get Ja back, and we have a healthy Steven Adams, healthy Bane, healthy Jaren, like we have, like, I love our team. I love how it's constructed. We have the complementary guys in place now. We have a Marcus Smart, we have a Luke Kennard. Like, I love our team. Now,
bro, you're getting me hyped right now, man. Like juices are flowing, dude. Like,
I'm hyped.
I want to play basketball right now.
Yeah,
it's just injuries. Like last year, we sat here and I think me and Luke both predicted us to win the finals, and I'm calling that bet a void because we didn't have Steven Adams. We didn't foresee that. I want to see this team fully healthy. Like I truly believe in this team, and you could hear it in Taylor Jenkins' voice, how he's making changes and he's fed up about last season. Desmond Bane has said how fed up they were about how last season ended. Everyone has a sour.
No, Eric's Wi-Fi. No, Eric's Wi-Fi is cutting out again.
Dude, you're about to do like a climax and then your Wi-Fi ruined it. Dang.
Man, I was at the end anyway. So if you I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, it's yeah, it's just great to have another Grizzly season to look forward to. I know I already said it, but man, I just can't wait for the Grizzlies to be playing.
All right.
You're so delayed. All right, dude, man. We're just gonna try to wrap this up, man. You guys got anything else you want to
On
add?
Wi-Fi.
What are you saying?
Can you hear me?
Eric, you gotta watch this back and see how choppy this is, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're just gonna call it a pod. We're gonna end the stream here. Signing off for now. This has been the Axe Cast. Looking forward to a Grizzlies season with Eric and Luke. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.